Did he increase his size a little bit?
Good morning, all, and welcome to another podcast. Today is our first live podcast. Can we get a clap? Are you excited, guys?
I'm very excited.
Because I'm definitely excited. You know, today I'm here with my co-host, Ezra, and my co-host, Aiden, to the left. Today, we're diving into another topic. The topic today will be ambition. What drives us, what pushes us, and what shapes the direction of our lives. Ezra, what does ambition mean to you?
Well, when I think of ambition, I think of the drive, that engine that pushes you to complete every single mission that you have to do for that day. Whether it's a vision or a goal that you have set in mind for the future, I believe that ambition would be the thing that helps you to get to that mission that you're striving for, to that topic that you're striving to learn. Anything in school, ambition is really what helps you to complete every mission that you want to complete in life.
What does ambition mean to you, Aiden?
Well, when you talk about ambition, I know that ambition isn't just a human idea. Ambition is something that God could use. God uses his ambition to wake us up in the morning. Ambition is what makes us come to him. Ambition is God's will.
The word ambition means a strong desire to achieve something, typically requiring determination or hard work. That's what drives us, what makes us stronger, what keeps us going on from day to day. And God actually plays a good part in that.
That is so true. That is so true. I mean, you can only complete what you want to complete with God. We talk about ambition. We've talked about, the distractions of life. But we have to realize that it's only when we're anchored in God can we really go down the path that he wants us to go down. And even if we divert from that path, while we might have ambition, we would not really be able to effectively progress because we don't have the cornerstone of our life, Jesus Christ, with us. Because I believe there's a verse that actually talks about God being the light unto my feet and the lamp unto the light unto my feet and light unto my path. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's important for us to remember that with God's guidance and ambition, we can complete anything.
But when I think about ambition, it really brings me back, even though I said that ambition is God's will,
yeah.
I also think ambition is purpose. Everybody wants to find their purpose inside of their life. You woke up this morning, and your purpose may have been, let me make it to the shower on time. Let me come to school on time. Purpose doesn't have to be something grand. Purpose could be the little things that come throughout the day.
That is so true. That is so true.
Ambition is a strong desire to achieve something. It takes effort, discipline. Like, say Aiden wants to be the best basketball player. He's not going to mope around every day and just lie down. He's going to go outside, pick up a basketball, shoot it. He's going to have determination so that he can be better than the rest to achieve. It's the spark that really wakes us up in the morning, gets us on our feet. Not the alarm, not the schedule, not the mom screaming at you to get up and get out the house. But the determination and ambition really drives us to remind us in life that we have a purpose.
I completely support that statement. You know, without that reminder, I think we would really just wake up, just roll over and be like, all right, I don't really want to come to school. I don't really want to do this. I don't really want to do that. But it's important to remember that every single action that we make, they have consequences.
Yes.
And if we don't allow our ambition, and like I said with God, to fully direct our path, those actions, they're going to cause a lot of effects that are going to distract somebody else. They're probably going to destroy somebody else. And while that might seem drastic, it's important to remember that everything is connected. I like to say domino effect. If I slap Casey one day, he might come to school angry, and then he might lash out on a teacher because of that slap, and then he's going to get in trouble. But it's all because I couldn't control my hands that happened. Yes. You see what I'm saying? And as drastic as that is, that can happen throughout any measure of life. And it's important to remember that our actions are indeed important.
Yes. And I remember we were talking about the connection.
Yes.
I think also, too, you have to have a connection with God, with your ambition.
Yes.
Remember how I said ambition and purpose are one and the same? You can hit a goal and still feel empty. You could hit that milestone you've been searching for years or for days and still feel like I didn't achieve anything. But the reason why that is because when you do something without God, you don't have his security.
Yes.
You don't have his backing. Mm-hmm. You don't have God's sense of this is going to be, okay, this action means something. This action actually can help me. So when you have a purpose and when you have an ambition, the connection with God should always be the backing towards your ambition.
Yes. Yes. That's very true.
You know, we're in the surrounding of high school or everybody outside. And high school ambition starts small. You know, we have passing Bible, passing video production like we're in right now. We have passing math, or even the minuscule things like trying to make the team or trying to figure out where you fit in. It's all a season of learning. You know, learning is the next step into doing. We're trying to experiment, trying to discover ourselves so that we can find our ambition. Like, what are you trying to go into?
Well, you know, when I think about ambition, I think and my path. After high school, I'm planning on majoring in psychology, and I realized that the path that I want to take towards psychology, it would require ambition because I want to be a psychologist that counsels others, a psychologist that helps others through their own path of life. Because I realize that it can be hard to navigate sometimes. And so I have to realize that in order for me to be that person to step in the middle of that gap for somebody else, I first have to have my own drive. Because if I don't want it, how can I help somebody else? It's like that saying that the blind can lead the blind. You know what I'm saying? So it's really important to keep that ambition back by God.
I remember.
What are you planning?
I'm planning on going into law. My ambition is to become a lawyer. But where that even begins is with my habits.
Yes.
You know, I remember you talking about how high school is a place where ambition starts small. But in high school, it also starts to build your habits. And like Ezra said, it can be hard to navigate without having a habit. The habit of discipline. The habit of I'm going to come home, do my homework. The habit of I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to go actually get up and try to achieve my goal. And that makes me realize that God uses high school to train. I know we think high school is this final destination. After we leave high school, life starts.
But God is using high school to prepare us for the future. The habits that we have now, even though we may think it's, oh, I can survive in college because the habits I have now, oh, my mom is going to call me and tell me to do my homework. That's not good. You got to have the habit to want to do something to get to your ambition. That's what I was going personally.
Yeah, high school is all a preparation for life. You know, we're in this situation where we have to do better and get better grades to put us in positions to get into better schools so that we may go into better jobs. Excuse me. And we just keep evolving.
That is so true. And I actually reminds me of something that Vice Principal Dr. Rodney said, that you can get the good grades. You can pass all the classes. But it really depends on your mindset. It depends on your morale. Because while you might have the qualifications that they're looking for educationally, academically, when it relates to your approach, when it relates to your behavior, when it relates to your personality, your interaction with others, businesses are not going to look for someone who can respectfully greet or respectfully interact with their peers, even though their grades are good. It's because of that shortcoming that they're not going to end up getting the job. And that really resonated with me because it made me realize that ambition is not only something that you can use to strive for good grades or an academic progression. Ambition, you should use it to succeed in any walk of life. Any walk of life, whether it's spiritual, like I said, personal, emotional, when it relates to your relationships with others. It's really important that you keep that at the forefront of your mind. Because that's the only way that you can effectively progress in life, is if you keep that as your engine.
Yes. And then life extends. We have college, we have work, even though we hate to 9 to 5, we have to do it. We have bills, and we're reaching 18 soon. We have taxes, real responsibilities, real decisions. Suddenly, ambition becomes more than dreams. It becomes life. It becomes our direction.
Yes. That is so important. That is so important. When do you start asking the deeper questions? Like, what am I becoming? What life am I going to be building? Like, what matters to me? Like, what do you think is right? When are you going to start asking those questions seriously?
At this point in my high school journey, I believe that those questions should have been asked probably toward the end of 10th grade, because I realized that from the moment you get to junior year, you should already be looking towards college. And when you get to senior year, while you're still in high school, your mindset should be college. You see what I'm saying? So you should have already have begun that internal scrutiny, because life is moving fast. I remember every teacher has told me, once you get to freshman year, after freshman year, high school's going to pass like that. Every senior that I've talked to, high school's going to pass like that. I have some family that in college right now, high school's going to pass like that. And so it's important to note that because of how fast life is moving, you can't let it pass you by. Because I believe there's a saying that says time waits for no man. And because time waits for no man, we should pick up the reins and decide, all right, this is what I'm going to do with my future. So those questions, I believe, should have been asked a long time ago. And if you have not asked them, you should definitely begin now, because life is indeed moving fast. I see that.
But even though life moves fast, don't you think that we should take the time to figure out who ourselves are?
That is so true. That's true.
We often are rushed into saying, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. Like, since kindergarten, somebody could want to be a police officer.
Right.
Then they could grow up and become chief or financial officer. Things change, so you must find yourself, take the time to find yourself. As though high school goes by quick, then it's college. You can still take the time to understand yourself and find through God who you really are. What do you think on that, guys?
I think what you're saying also coincides with discipline. Like I said before, as a high schooler, I can't say I have a lot of discipline. That's something I have to reflect on. And I think that's something everybody has to reflect on. Because like I said, high school is the place where habits grow. And in high school, it's going to take a lot of discipline because your parents are not going to put as much, direction towards you. They're not going to have so much surveillance on you. And I think it's hard for some people to transition into a place where they become disciplined because, like I said, you stay in a bad habit for too long. Eventually, when somebody tells you about doing the right thing, you're going to think, why would I do that? I've been doing this for so long, and I haven't got any consequences. But the consequences do come. I believe the consequences come in college. What do you think, Jason?
Yeah, I think it comes throughout the life above college and high school. Then we start to build those bad habits. We start to rot. We're like, oh, it's okay if we let this slide. Or we just don't have the discipline to get up and have the motivation. I feel like motivation is a big part of it.
That is so true. That is so true. And, I just want to actually touch back on your point, Aiden, that, high school is a progression. You start freshman year, just got out of the 8th grade, you're not sure what it's about. But that's when the maturing process should have began, where you should have started pulling away from your parents, becoming more independent, so that you can be ready for that college step. So I think it's really, really important to notice that that discipline is important.
Yeah. But the greatest ambition is not a degree, a career, or a dream. Those things matter, but it's very not important. It's eternal. My bad, man.
Very true. That is so very true. And it's really, I think ambition is indeed, it's internal, and once you get it on the inside, it becomes external, because you start to influence your peers around you. So, when you let God take control of your life, because we always have to go back to God, because He is the originator of all of these good qualities. But when we allow God to first lead us, I believe that ambition is indeed going to come into our lives. It's gonna take shape, it's gonna take form, and allow us to push toward the mark, press towards the prize that God has in store for us.
Yes. I would love to leave them a message, though.
Yes.
That ambition is powerful.
Yes, it is.
But ambition is rooted in Jesus Christ.
Amen.
And when it is rooted in Jesus Christ, it becomes so unstoppable that nothing is going to override us. The verse that comes to mind is, it's there, that no weapon formed against me shall prosper.
Amen.
But it says, it doesn't say that there will be no weapon. It says that it shall not prosper. So when we have the ambition, we should expect those things to come at us. But we should not let those things bring us down or separate us from the Lord. So I would like to impart a word of wisdom to you guys, that keep on your ambition, find yourself, and let God handle the rest. Thank you, guys. This is out, guys. Have a good evening, guys.